Asibingelele Mthwakazi kaNdaba. Igama nguThulana kaNkala. Sikhona lana kuma-Tablet Broadcasting Corporation. Siyathemba ukuthi liphilile ngendawo kumagumbi wonke amane omhlaba. Namhlanje ngililethele insizwa noma ngithi qhawe la kwaMthwakazi. Ubaba uSosha Mpunzi ongumholi we-organization ebizwa Mthwakazi Political Alliance. Today we are actually going to touch on many various issues. They can be topical or kube ngama issues avele nje sazi ukuthi ahlala ehlupha umphakathi. Siza ukuthi yena neqembu lakhe bangabe bemi kanjani, ngithi ama positions abo ame kanjani kuma issues ayimportant kithi njengomthwakazi. Baba Sosha siyakubingelela.
Hayi siyabonga Baba uNkala sithi happy 2016 sesingenile ngaphakathi kwaumnyaka. Sokufanele sibone ukuthi siphatheleni njengamahlaba ezulu. Lapha komthwakazi isimo sisafana. Yini engcono kufanele siyenze lo nyaka mfowethu?
Hayi kuhle sesingenile. Uthi 2016 kushona sesekhatshana kakhulu.
Hayi 2026. Ukuthi angisho kahle 2026.
Yeah, hayi. Hayi kuyalunga kakhulu. Njengoba nje sengishilo sizothinta ama issues amaningi engizofisa ukuthi ahlukene. Ngithanda ukuthi ngizwe ukuthi lina njengeqembu njalo wena unguwe one of the leaders ukuthi ama positions eni kuma issues ame kanjani. Ngizoqala ngale issue yeZimbabwean independence. Abantu abaningi from Mthwakazi, they say they went to war to fight for the independence of Zimbabwe. Therefore, they feel it is important that they celebrate the Zimbabwean independence. But on the other hand, we have people who say, yes, we are aware we went to war to liberate the country. However, when we liberated the country, we didn't actually gain the independence that we yearned for. Ngithanda ukuthi ngizwe ukuthi wena neqembu lakho iposition yenu imi kanjani when it comes to the Zimbabwean independence, its relevance and its significance to emuntwini wakomthwakazi.
Hayi ngiyakubuza ngizozama ukuthi ngithi fahla ngihlanganise nesilungu. EMPA, which is an alliance of various political entities, the general consensus and understanding is, as experienced by the citizens themselves of Mthwakazi, is that the independence in April always reminds us that we are not free. When others, when they are celebrating the independence, they are celebrating it for different reasons than those of us who actually do celebrate it, if there's nothing to celebrate at all. We know that others see conquest, whereas others see freedom from colonialism. That's why it's very, very important to Abat Bagiti Uguti. We should not be taken by hype. What is the substance of celebrating? We can just take an example. I've got an example here on my screen. We know that we have got 200 and something seats in parliament. And we know the first constitution that was proposed by the Rhodesian government at the time, the one that was ultimately rejected by ZAP, it was promising the minority whites at the time over 400 seats. And the blacks, I'm sure it was around 20, if not 30 seats. I'm not sure about the figures, just I have to go back on my research. What we see in the present day Zimbabwe is that this current regime assumed the vices of the then colonial master and turned those vices and pointed them at Mtwagazi. We know that we have around 38 seats in parliament. I think over how much? 280, if not 300. But when you look at the demographics and when you look at the expanse of the land itself and the population dynamics in Mtwagazi, there is no way we can be represented by that minuscule number of parliamentarians. It means we have been systematically engineered. This so-called democracy has been systematically, demographically, socially engineered that you're going to be perpetual underdogs. Our political representation will be swallowed in the so-called ethnocentric majoritarianism, where winner takes all. This is the mantra that the Smith regime went with. So if your political expression is for the foreseeable future infinitely subdued by a system that was designed by the white colonialists and assumed by the so-called black government, there's nothing for you to celebrate. All there is just imagination and newly letting others eating milk and honey, whereas you're suffering in poverty with no political recourse to change your status quo in terms of the economy and everything else that's troubling us as people of Mtwagazi.
Yeah, Baba Mpunzi, some people feel that they sacrificed by going to war to fight for the liberation of the country.
Yeah.
And they feel that by not celebrating the independence is sort of dislocating them from the value of fighting for that independence. What do you say about that?
I'll say there's what we call perhaps Pyrrhic victory, for lack of a better word. How you call it, it depends, the PH. But it means the so-called victory that you're celebrating has got nothing to show. You are not bearing or enjoying the fruit of your suffrage. How your people suffered, how your people shed blood and sweat fighting for the citizens to enjoy. All that has been wasted away by, I would say, the overzealous and drunkenness of conquest by ZANU-PF when it assumed independence. My father himself, for example, he went to war, but I have never experienced an iota of privilege, let alone anything positive about his sacrifice. So on the same breath, it will be an insult to him for me to celebrate nothingness. I'm sure when they were fighting, in particular the Zipra comrades, they had envisioned that our children are going to inherit a better future. There is nothing better about what is going on anyway. So why should we celebrate mediocrity? I think that is a Zimbabwean syndrome that needs to be uprooted. That's why people call two-lane roads highways and so forth. There is nothing to celebrate in a shithole economy that has been deliberately made to appear so. I do say perhaps deliberately, actually, because how is it that over and over again the same mistakes economy-wise are being made, and each and every resource and effort is being put towards a political party remaining in power, where the people are wallowing in cognitive poverty, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, people might say, no, people have gained since independence. To the best of your knowledge, particularly the people from Matabeleland, what have they gained?
I will tell you, Babukala, Yazi, I've been thinking deep now that I'm old. And I understand the standards. I remember as far as the 80s, we have always, even in the 80s when the economy was functioning, we were celebrating eating chicken month end and rice month end. It was a luxury. Those are the hallmarks of a stagnated economy. Economy that stagnated, that failed its social development agenda in its infancy. We can talk about what you call this, products that are actually mediocre. We can talk about the bread itself. Sliced bread. We know that there was a monopoly. There was no innovation. Companies were so stagnated. There was no cultivation by the government to create a conducive environment for businesses. That on its own affected the products that we're consuming. You can look in the 80s, for example, our children then in the 80s. Tina, we knew ukuthi intombazana encane ingane iphahla isinabo 15, 16. But when you look at other countries, those children who are raised well with a proper nutrition, by the time they're around 11, 12, you can see that the hormones are kicking in, that this is actually a little girl. In our context in the 80s and early 90s, you couldn't tell the difference between a boy and a girl. That speaks to the kind of diet that we've been subjected to. We just embraced mediocrity because we didn't know anything better and there was no alternative, so to speak.
Okay, ngiyakuzwa baba. So kuwe i-independence yeZimbabwe represents i-operation kaMthwakazi.
Yes, exactly. It represents conquest to abantu bakaMthwakazi, because you can see, if you go back some archives, some videos, kunale video abantu bakaMgabe were celebrating ukuthi they want a one-party state. Ukuthi uNkomo must die forever. All those sentiments prevailed at the time, and they were all summarized and concluded at the so-called Unity Accord, which was the final stamp of the conquest of people of Mthwakazi. I do not know why the affairs of two political entities had to have such a bearing on a nation. If you were not a member of ZAPU or ZANU, you shouldn't celebrate that so-called national, what do they call it? National unity? What do they call it? Those were political parties. Those were not two countries, unless if the colloquial meaning of ZAPU and ZANU means ZANU was represented the Shona state, and ZAPU, I mean ZANU was representing the Shona state, and ZAPU was representing the Mthwakazi state. Perhaps they take it as a common untold truth that it meant we were being swallowed and being conquered willy-nilly by being subjected to a genocide. I think that's the literal interpretation of some of the people that belong to the so-called Shona group.
Okay, all right. Abantu bomthwakazi, many people, they haven't reached what I call a consensus in
Yeah.
terms of the way forward uma kusiza kwezepolitiki. Abanye bathi hayi asiqhubeke sibambene neZimbabwe. Abanye bathi no, asike sivuselele okwangapha kithi eMathebeleland. Njalo nalaba abathi sivuselele okwangapha eMathebeleland bangama classes athize, abanye bathi bangama devolutionist, abanye bengama federalist, abanye bangama purely secessionist. Wena ngokuyirida kwakho i-political map komthwakazi, ubone ngathi kumele ime njani?
Mina into engayisho ukuthi lana kufana nokuthi sivusa isikorokoro mhlawumbe sithi i-Peugeot i-404 yahlala kudala lapha neyadini sirusile. So abanye mabeza namaviri, abanye beza namawindow, abanye bazama ukuyikanika. All is welcome. Is done in such a way of consolidating political power that should be taken, but not given to the people from Mthwakazi, because we've been subservient for a long time to this political ethnocentric system. We have failed to play the game. We know that the politics is tribal in nature, it's ethnocentric. We have somehow divorced ourselves from being affected by that system. So I say, as the interim chair of Mthwakazi People's Alliance, we have got a variety of approaches. We do have secessionists, we do have regionalists as well, federalists as well. Well, but personally, I would say I know that regionalism and federalism, as things stand, will never work, because the constitution itself does not cater for the full devolution of power. Most people have never researched that further. Unless the instrument of governance are broken down in such a way that they can stand alone and only pivot towards a central executive authority, I do not see that happening. We know that, for example, are you able to go to your maybe homeland, let's say mhlawumbe Lupane, and uthi you want to do what you call this, Idamu? All that still goes to the central government. The local provincial government has got no authority, because the water affairs is a ministry that reports directly to the president, and the water upon which that land, the land upon which that land exists, is owned by the president. So the supporting instrument that devolution of power is supposed to hinge upon being skewed is nothing but a fallacy. I would say it's just an attempt to silence dissenting voices. The regionalism itself is nothing but political theatrics and gimmicks. That's why we're left with succession. I'm not saying I'm fully supportive of succession, but I'm saying succession is aiming at an objective that we might not get, but if we aim lower, nonetheless, we'll get anything that is better than regionalism or federalism.
Okay, maybe siyithathe from phezulu sizokwehla nayo kancane.
Yeah.
Ngifake kuma classes ayi-2 abroad.
Yeah.
Ngithi kunama unionist,
Yeah.
kunama restorationist.
Yes.
Uma ungakuthatha nje at that level and at its broadness, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of each?
Okay, I will tell you. First, I just want to put this as an underlining statement, is that the general consensus among secessionists so far is not that they are doing this in a reactive manner to say because the country is failing and marginalization and so forth. They see all those things as a symptom of a mistake of being unionized with a people in the region that they were not supposed to be earlier on during the formation of Rhodesia. Okay, let's get that out of the window. Now, we know we've got remnants of ZAPU. Umtwakazi is one of our political parties. Now, when the political system is so heavily skewed that in its effort to address the needs of the country or community or a region, there's to import actors from elsewhere in order to act on behalf of those that feel that they are being marginalized, and there is a deliberate ploy to annihilate their culture, their nationhood, their statehood, and turn them into outcasts. It will always raise issues. People will start asking, why are we being treated like that? Is it because we do not belong, or is it because the political system is being made to be like that? Now, some people are reactive. That's why you find people being angry. Some people, they go far as being tribalism. Those are reactive people. They are one side, but then the ZAPU political party, which is our traditional political party, that is nationalist in nature, that is not transformed enough to understand that we are essentially fighting a system that should have been buried during the so-called independence, but it was resuscitated, turned into a ghost, and actually it was unleashed to the people of Mtwakazi. So there are people who are Zapulining, the older and senior people. They believe in nationalism. They believe in the ideals of Ubaba Nkomo, of which that was good. But now the younger generation who were poised to inherit the blood and sweat of their parents that fought alongside Joshua Nkomo, they are angry. They've been disenfranchised. They realize and have been forced by the situation to go down the memory lane and say, perhaps they were being treated like this is because we're never one people, a nation, or a region. So we've got these, I'll call it Nkomoism versus secessionism and regionalism. Whatever, those that belong to the secessionist agenda and the regionalism agenda, they belong together because all they want is political autonomy. And if that issue is not resolved, I can tell you now, there's no amount of propaganda or social media of posting roads that have been built for the last 30 years and building 5-7 kilometers and say there's progress. That notion of mediocrity and telling people lies is over, because people have been displaced to other countries. They know what a proper highway is supposed to look like, and they won't accept anything less. That's why they've decided that perhaps going out of this political arrangement, whether is it between ZANU and ZAPU in 1987, the so-called Unity Accord, or whether it's when the Union of South Africa at the time, the British South Africa Company through Cecil John Rhodes, amalgamated these two regions to form Rhodesia. They are saying, we seek that autonomy. Perhaps we were never meant to be together with this oppressive regime, because now ethnicity has become a class issue. Inherently, someone from Mtwakazi is generally poor, and someone from elsewhere is in the upper class. So now we have our fathers fought so hard only for us to be turned into peasants by a repressive regime that seeks to use tribalism or tribal majoritarianism to ignore the plight of those that are suffering at the hands of their tactics that they inherited willingly from the Rhodesians.
Yeah. I will ask you a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Imagine you were one of the very most important members of the present government.
Yes.
And you were tasked or given a task to bring a political settlement or a political solution to what we are seeing. What would you bring?
What I'll bring is I've actually wrote a paper regarding this. The issue that we have is mediocrity. The issue that we have, besides tribal apartheid, is the quest to remain in power irregardless of the consequences. And those consequences are being passed on to the next generation. What I will do is I will seek equal proportional political representation across all regions. I will remove the notion and the mantra that says all winner, the winner takes all, and everything else, everyone else must pay homage to that so-called winner. It creates a partisan and a tokenistic so-called political system where political networks ultimately form, and it becomes a living monster where a political party is the country and the country is the political party. So we do away with the majoritarian political system that says since ZANU-PF is acting, is the one that is in power. The majoritarian politics is actually a one-party state mantra. We are still in a one-party state, although they are not pronouncing it. But the instruments, the political instruments and vices that have been planted into this nation since the 80s are those of a one-party state. It does not need to be pronounced as such. We do away with that. We do not want where someone from Mashonaland can come and be imposed in our land. We do not want our children to become and taught in a foreign, exotic language that reminds them a language of torture, a language of Kukrawundi. We want where politics and justice are separated, not whereby our cries of being marginalized are swept aside because we are the so-called minority, which the minorityness of it was caused by Kukrawundi and everything else, including propaganda. So we want equal representation. We want more seats in parliament. We want to do away with this allocation of seats where Mtwagazi is around 38 seats, and the regions in Mashonaland have been broken down so much that overwhelmingly, if we're to say the secessionist agenda is going ahead and we want to put it in parliament and call for a referendum, as things stand in parliament, we do not stand a chance because the majoritarian politics of the day, they will say to us, but you are a minority and there won't be enough of what you call this, of a consensus. There won't be any quorum, let alone to they say all of our members of parliament, 38 of them, they vote for a referendum or a bill, so to speak, to proceed with calling for a referendum. Our members of parliament will never stand a chance, which means the winner takes it all mantra again will be the hindrance towards that, because self-determination is enshrined in the United Nations Charter. It's not that people are calling for what has never been called for. Instead of the regime addressing the issues that are agitating people to become more and more receptive to these calls for succession, the government thinks that they can crush or use propaganda to silence those sentiments of a separate nation. It will never work.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
one-party state is the one that's supposed to be destroyed.
Okay. Yeah, you have raised a very interesting issues. You've called it a majoritarianism and the minorityness. Uma ngicabanga kuhle, what has been happening, like ukuthathwa kwemisebenzi, ukuthathwa komhlabathi, iland, by people from other regions. Konke lokho has been attributed to this notion of ukuthi they are a majority.
Yes.
So ngisuke ngizibuza ukuthi kanti uma uyi-majority kuphi lapho hleli khona osokumele kuba yi-majority kwezinye indawo futhi. So angazi ukuthi wena leyo issue uyibheka kanjani.
I remember babunkala esikolweni ngafunda i-osmosis. It says, does it say particles move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration? Right.
I think
so we have been seeing a socially engineered political osmosis going on. If we go by the notion that you are a majority in your own province, it does not mean you need to go and dominate where else you are not a majority. And if you justify that by saying you are a majority anyway, it means you are encroaching on a region, on a people. You seek to annihilate or change the demographics deliberately to your own advantage as a people, as a political party, whatever entity you are. That's why I would say this. Majoritarianism itself, this majority and minority issue, is nothing but propaganda. You can go and check online. The last census that was done by the Rhodesians in 1976, that census, everyone else who was in the regions that we can generally say Simtoras, they were about half of the population, 2.8, if you combine all those Tonga lanes and all them towards the regions versus other regions. So if we're to go by the notion and even subtract, let's say as high as they did, maybe realistically speaking, that Kukrahundi unalived maybe 80 to 100,000 people. Those people by now, they were perhaps multiplied to more than 1 million. So estimated, of course, but now, how is it now all of a sudden from 1976? A region that geographically covers half the nation is to be so sparsely populated that the allocation of resources in the country, 90, if not 95% of those resources, taxes and so forth, are being allocated to a region that they claim has got the majority, when we know that because of systematic displacement in the early 80s during Kukrahundi itself, people were displaced and people left their lands. That land is now being occupied by people from other regions, from a higher concentration into a lower concentration. We are, in other words, Babunkala, we are being demographically diluted deliberately in order to weaken our political resolve or our ability to rise up and say we are being targeted and we are being marginalized end, we are suffering from a system of tribal apartheid that is well thought out, that is goals and milestones. And I can tell you now that the milestone that we are at currently is almost close to the one where Palestine is almost being chased to the sea. One way or the other, we have to stand up. If we do not, our children are going to suffer the demise of our cowardice. We are not cowards. We can choose
Yeah.
to ignore, but we have to stand up.
Yeah. I-argument eyinye bathi we are a unitary state, therefore people can move anywhere they want. But also I wanted you to tackle this question whereby our people have been displaced baya emazweni, particularly South Africa, but nakwamanye amazwe like Botswana, UK, USA, Australia. But abantu bakithi, they seem to be failing to organize themselves in those countries. So I want to find out, because many nations who have been oppressed within their borders, when they go out, they've been able to organize themselves and go back to their original countries. Thina umthwakazi uwehlulwa yini nama issues asibambileyo o asivelawazi
ukuthi yeah, ibuhlungu lento babunkala, because I thought about this last week. It's really painful. I did think about this deeply so. The symptom that you're describing is the symptom of a victim that has been beaten down so much, or a group of victims that have been beaten down so much, such that they now fear regrouping because they are going to be targeted. They have now decided that it is safer to survive this life on their own without putting heads together, because regrouping and putting their heads together seems to be aiming at a futile target, which is freeing themselves from a repressive government that is practicing tribal apartheid. Now, you must understand that the primary drivers of people living Mthwakazi is to sustain themselves and their families. That's the core of a nation. However, when coming together stands in the way of one achieving, the people always choose to sacrifice for their families directly, so that at least they cannot suffer the consequences of a failed state that failed because of tribal apartheid and all other things that have been done in the name of so-called one-party state, and Zimbabwe will never be a colony again. All exhausted and dinosaurs of political theatrics and actors are still hinging on that. So I will choose, for example, going to a political engagement to spend time with my family, or study, or be engaged with my business, because that fear that my children should not suffer the way I suffered is so strong enough. You are suffering from that, I don't know how to call it, it's a poverty phobia. If you put your effort towards something that you know that chances it will never work, because the instruments that have been oppressing you are intact and mature, and they're only getting stronger. Some of our people that do not have imagination to see beyond that, they give up hope. And And those people are the people that are actually doing well overseas. They are the most successful, the most educated, the ones that actually will not use emotions when deliberating and chatting away from tourists. Those people are in survival mode. They are fighting the so-called spirit of poverty that emanated from the so-called altar of Kukrawundi, for lack of a better word. They don't want their children to suffer the way they suffered. They have chosen to benefit or beneficiate with their efforts only their families. Anything else is optional. And they've chosen the option not to partake because they see no future. But the issue is, whatever remnant of our people that are not displaced yet, they are going to be displaced anyway. It can be now, next year, whatsoever. And they're going to be swallowed up by the ethnocentric tribal state.
Mhm. Yeah, indaba enzima leyo engicabanga ukuthi idingela ukufakelwa izibuko ezinkulu kakhulu.
Kakhulu.
Yeah, asiye kusiqephu sokugcina baba. Bengingafisa ukuthi bende kakhulu. Just recently siyazi ukuthi i-government yeZimbabwe bazama ukushintsha i-constitution. We've been hearing about Vision 2030. Aw. Kodwa ke manje sesikubona ngamehlo ukuthi bayazama ngempela ukuthi bashintshe umthetho. Ikakhulu lokhu abantu ukuthiwa i7 years kuthiwa kuthiwa ini term of office.
Yes.
Yeah, both of the president and both of ilokuzeni ama MPs ukuthi kube 7 years.
Yes.
But nokunye nje okuningi wena Nthembu uyakwazi kahle. That's why fisa ukuthi nje uke usianalyzele nje ukuthi kuchaza ukuthini lokho. One, ku country as a whole. Two, kumthwakazi. What are the implications?
Okay. I'll say, first and foremost, we all know that in order for you to change the constitution, there has to be a referendum. However, we know there's an attempt to subvert that. I don't know how they seek to butcher it, but nonetheless, the ability for these politicians to attempt to do that, it means that their constituencies do not have a say or a direct effect in actually what do you call this, in actually appointing them to those positions. Because when you see the tail wagging the dog, you should know that there is an underlying force that is not perhaps visible. When you look at a dog, obviously you know that the tail is thinner and the body of the dog is bigger. When you see as small a tail as it is wagging the dog, it means the political arrangement is arranged in such a way that the voter generally in Zimbabwe does not have much control over their political representatives. And the political representatives do not pay homage, do not honor the votes of those that voted them into power, because somehow they value them being in power versus the people that have voted them to be in power. That's already a skewed politics. It means whatever political theatrics that are in place clearly are only for the benefit of the politicians. A general voter doesn't have much influence whatsoever. Or the voters are merely voting for things that do not matter, or whatever sways them to vote is not that strategically important that the decision being taken by their representative will affect whether they vote for that appointee or they do not in the next coming election. So now, okay, that's one. Two, Mthwakazi. Actually, to Mthwakazi, it's, I would say, is an opportunity for the Red Sea to open and be parted, because we know that we have discussed this not previously, that a bill will have to be presented by those that seek successionism. And if now the precedence is being set that you can butcher the constitution and get away with it willy-nilly, you are sending the message to the so-called successionists that they do not need a political referendum in order for them to go ahead and divide the country. And this is going to be a big, big, big issue. If those that are seeking successionism are being blocked by the legislature, using the very same constitution that they seek to butcher as things stand now, they won't have any political leg to stand on, and the international community will not stand by them. If it's time for butchering the constitution, let everyone butcher it. Mthwakazi can have a leg and a head. They can have the insides and intestines and whatsoever, and let's just get this thing over and done with. Because
I was listening to Jonathan Moyo yesterday.
Yeah.
They say the 2013 constitution ithi yona uma kuzoba noshintsho of this magnitude, kumele kube ne-referendum.
Yeah.
But the word which is used there is that like extension, but the extension of a term. Manje Jonathan uthi no, this is not an extension. It is the lengthening of a term. So
no.
I couldn't understand what he meant.
Jonathan, I think the issue is, we know that the term limits for the members of parliament is joined at the hips with the term limit of the president himself. So you cannot claim to extend the term limits of parliamentary tenure, which ultimately affects the tenure of the president, and at the same breath take away the rights of the citizens to vote directly for the president. What you are saying is, you are, as a member of parliament, you are giving yourself all the power that you need and all the time that you need to keep the president in power, despite any possible change of political sentiments. So people want to vote for Mnangagwa and change their tone, or Mnangagwa starts doing things that he have always done, you are denying those people that opportunity to remove him, let alone you are actually increasing the term limit for that. That's all just nonsense, political theatrics, skullduggery. Jonathan Moyo umdala asifuna ukuthi size simthuwe emncane. We cannot hear from anyone of his caliber who's embracing, and he has been actually actively working towards the repression of people of Mthwakazi, when his father paid the biggest price. He was butchered by Kukuraundi, which was nothing but a ZANU-PF Shona ethnocentric militia that was state-sponsored. So how can he come here and speak with any authority? It's either he sold out his soul and ignored his father's name in order for him to be able to survive. But he should not include us in his selling out. Some of us, our fathers, were never nonetheless butchered as much as his father. It's actually shameful. He should be the last person to speak on behalf of ZANU. I pray whoever is going to hell, when they meet him, they should beat him to death there in hell. He's a sellout and a traitor. I don't want to hear anything from him.
Okay. Before we conclude, ngoba lolu daba lunzima, wena ubona ngani abantu kumele baluphathe njani lolu daba lolu?
Lolu daba lolu, we know ukuthi there are challenges in court as things stand. I think there's one that has been granted the right to appeal directly to the Supreme Court the last time I checked. Now, the kingpin of the argument there is, for you to change the constitution, you need a referendum. And the court, in all fairness, and I use the word in all fairness because we know that the justice system itself is captured, but this would be a perfect example or opportunity, so to speak, for those justices that have been appointed for what I call tokenistic political appointment that do the bidding of ZANU-PF to actually have an opportunity to exercise what they went to school for. If you interpret the extension of the terms as equivalent to the extension of the term of the president, if that is interpreted as such, and the citizenry itself is against that increase of the term limit, it means that that term limit itself is not being presented the way it portrays itself to be. Because I can tell you now, the main catalyst is essentially to increase the term limit of the president. This MP thing is just something that is just, I would say, a bystanding issue, so as to coerce that the members of parliament still have a reason to support this, because who wouldn't want to increase their so-called contract of work when it's supposed to end in 5 years? They get to increase it themselves and add an extra 2 years. So they are essentially increasing their own contracts of work, and at the same time, they're increasing the contract of work for their boss, which is Mnangagwa. They have got something in it. They are compromised. Those members of parliament should not be given the opportunity to willy-nilly change, because there is conflict of interest. They stand to benefit from an extended term to continue their corruption and get an additional 2-year salary. So there should not be the final arbiter as far as this is concerned. So which now leaves the issue of a referendum. The referendum, if they seek to go ahead, is the ultimate justifiable solution or device that can bring about a fair outcome. Even those that did not get what they wished for can say, but the game was fair and square. But I do not see that happening, knowing what happened with Mugabe in 2001 when he lost that referendum. It was embarrassing.
But don't you think, Uguti, as things stand right now, there is no strong opposition party engagalvaniza i-support yabantu ukuthi bekwazi ukuvotela ilokhuzeni ku-referendum bewin, ngoba ukubeka kahle ukuthi ama-MPs wonke ayageyina, whether ku-opposition whether ku-ruling party, ayageyina wonke. So labo vele sibabeke eceleni, they won't campaign ku-referendum. So don't you think ukuthi i-government might risk ihambe ku-referendum?
They might risk, but now that's when they'll be basically calling to dance with a snake in the tall green grass, where it slithers even more faster. They wouldn't take a chance because they know that the citizenry is fed up with them. They will use this as an opportunity to voice their dissent, and will be actually a rallying point for people to unite against whatever possible elections that are coming. They will use that as a rallying point and take that impetus and use it and ultimately remove ZANU-PF or whoever is in power. I do tell you that now, as things stand, there's no opposition. MDC, CCC, and ZANU are two sides of the same coin. We are still in a one-party state, believe you me. Which other legislation or bill has been brought by the opposition since the 80s? Nothing.
Yeah. Okay, no. Mbona hayi sesixoxile kwanamhlanje baba Mpunzi. Sizobuya sixoxe futhi kodwa ke hayi ungasinikeza nje ama-closing remarks akho baba.
Yeah, ama-closing remarks bengifuna ukukhuluma nje across all amaqembu akethu ukuthi before we know we do have political differences, and we can argue politically how we want things to be done in order for us to achieve the best outcomes. I know ultimately that succession seeks a particular outcome. Regionalism seeks a particular outcome, and that outcome is common amongst all political actors in the political theater currently. Let's come together. Let's put our pieces on the chessboard. Let's understand the objectives and realize that our goal more or less is the same. At the same breath, we must understand that there are issues. We cannot wait for Jesus to come, save us now, when we do not want to fix some of our issues that we're airing. We know that there is a housing shortage, for example. Our people are disenfranchised. The majority who are in South Africa, they cannot afford those things. We need to put political pressure, some political parties of ours, to petition the local government, that we know that the Rhodesians, mostly what they did. Abanye befuna isithupha, abanye befuna marriage certificate. There should be such initiative. Those land developers that are holding land and overpricing it, they should be removed. And there has to be a trust of sorts that buys lands in bulk, and the land is reallocated to individuals that are going to be able to pay for it at the rate and at the amount that they afford. The people of Mtawas being priced out is one of the pertinent issues, besides the roads and the infrastructure. The infrastructure itself, a political party can come with a bill that actually rectifies the ill-thought-out regionalism. We want to go out into the international bond market and get bonds to fix our own roads, put our own countries and toll gates, Nyamadov, Enkai, whatsoever. We service those toll gates, those third parties. They finance those so that our roads can be fixed before more and more people are being killed. Where a distance that used to take 3 hours is now 8 hours. How are those so-called growth points going to develop into towns? So those that are educated and those that are perhaps angry again. When you are angry and passionate, this is a general message to abantu bakithi. When you are angry and passionate because uzondile, uhlukumezekile kakhulu, it does not mean that you belong in the theater of politics. You might be angry, perhaps you are good for galvanizing support. But if you are not able to think things through and understand what needs to be done in order for us to achieve the outcomes that we seek, please do not contest or actually scramble for positions, because you are going to lead our people down a dangerous path. You will end up holding power and not knowing what to do with it. Ngiyabonga babukani.
Hayi siyabonga kakhulu baba Mpunzi. Asibonge kakhulu kubalaleli nakubabukeli beMathebeleng Broadcast Corporation. Okankalo umntwana uthi khumu.
Hayi, step up.